Good morning. My name is Carlos Alfonso Serape Lagunes. I am a computer system engineering student. I would like to talk about the history of video games and consoles in the past, present, and future. The past in the history of video game for quite some time has been difficult to a point of which was the first video game, namely to the multiple definitions that has been established, but nothing across the world by Alexander S. Douglas in 1952 can be considered as the first video game. The game was a computerist version of the TikTok tech that runs on top of the headset, and I love a human player to play against the machines. In 1958, William Higginbotham created the Tennis for Two video games. This is a simulator for entertainment that was the first video game that allowed player to players to play on the 5 years later. The video games console was created that was the Atari 2600 as count as video game computer system that allowed is to be played in a more domestic way using very simple analogic controls. That console was the prelude to the consoles that would arrive in the future from the arcade centers with games such as Space Invaders or Asteroids. And a few decades later, more consoles very developed that allow more video games that is expanded with the range of the games that were parts of the story such has Super Mario 64. The present today video games are more like simply repetitive games with very low graphics that were played on console with semi-analogic technologies that exist in the past. Now they are about to create any fantasy that people dream of, but without neglecting the technology that about is to be possible. We take into account that the leading companies is in consoles and computer equipment that have competitive components allow to show very graphic than previous technology that make it a little more realistic, but we don't ignore that there are many types of art with the video games current. An example can be Minecraft that has less demanding graphics, but this is one of the most played games in the world. At the same time, there are games like Spider-Man Miles Morales on the new generation PlayStation 5 console that offer great playability and the same time shows you use a magical release thanks to the graphics offered by the technology on console. Another example that we can take into account is Fortnite, which is a video game that might not depend on these graphics, but 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 has offered the opportunity to unify the video games community in the world, allowing interaction with more players that makes a great difference from all video games that, as I mentioned previously, it's only considered of playing alone against the machine or most players. In this way, video games today are not only a hobby, but they have become part of the society for the simple acts of connecting everyone in the world with the help of the internet. Future. The future of the video games is in virtual reality. In a few years, the technology to be able to play in a more immersive way than the current existing technology will become a reality. Currently, there are only a few games or simulators that allow us to use a virtual reality helmet like the Oculus Quest, but is very limited by the lack of device that complement and allowed us to detect the real movements of our bodies, but is in the in the end is very expensive is the moment. Is no loss of having a future with this type of technology or digital worlds that replace video games as shown in the Ready Player One movie, uh, which would be an example of that we would come to live in the future.